والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه الكريم بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذ قالت الملائكة يا مريم إن الله اصطفاك وطهرك واصطفاك على نساء العالمين. وقال جل وعلا: واذكر في الكتاب مريم إذ انتبذت من أهلها مكانا شرقيا فاتخذت من دونهم حجابا فأرسلنا إليها روحنا فتمثل لها بشرا سويا. صدق الله العظيم. اللهم صل وسلم على النبي الأمي وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. آمين يا رب العالمين. Brothers and sisters, Islam, inshallah, today we carry on with our weekly Halakha series, which is based upon the Prophet of Islam, Isa, the son of Mary, peace be upon them both. And last week we started the series. We started with the birth of the mother of Jesus. And before I carry on, those brothers who have prayed, please come forward, especially the youngsters. I see a few young faces. You are already forward, it's okay. Some new faces are here, inshallah. I want to start with a dua for the Mayyit who passed away a few days ago, Haji Ibrahim Sahab. May Allah have mercy upon him. As you heard, Qadi Sahab they will have a dua for him tomorrow in Abdullah Masjid at 10 o'clock. So please try to go and pay respect to the family and recite the Quran and make dua for him. And also we have a few of our elders who are unwell. Make dua for them. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant them shifa kamila. This is a month of illness. It's December, November. People are getting ill. We should always return and make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the shifa. Take a precaution, but also remember him that this is a test upon you. That when he makes you ill, there's a reason behind it. He wants to cleanse you of your sins, of your bad deeds, and your bad actions. So you should always remember those who are sick, those who are unwell. And as we are talking about illness and sickness, we learned from last week that Maryam alayhi salam, she was given the glad tidings by the angels. But the first glad tidings she was given was that Allah has chosen you, Ya Maryam, to be one of the best women of the world. And as we know the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 4 women have been said to be the best women on this earth. One of them was Khadija, Maryam alayhi salam. She was given this title, one of the greatest women of this world. So if the mother is so great, how great will the child be? Yeah, and I stopped here to ask a question to you, because this question I repeated 5 times a few days ago and I kept on getting the wrong answer. So before we start, inshallah, we have someone called Yusuf, I think, here, haven't we? You have a boy called Yusuf, alhamdulillah. So Yusuf is a character we'll be using a lot in today's talk. And also we'll be using, anyone called Isa here? Anyone called Isa? No, we haven't got Isa here, okay. But anyway, before we carry on, before I get the book out, it's just a simple question that we know. I mentioned Maryam alayhi salam is the mother of Isa. So I asked this question, tell me who's the father of Isa bin Maryam? No, not you. You were already here last week. No, that was not. Anyone else? Yusuf? Yeah. No one. Okay, that's the right answer. Yeah, he hasn't got a father. But what you will hear regarding his father, they will try to bring this character called Yusuf, Joseph the carpenter, who is there in the history books. He's actually related to Maryam alayhi salam. He is the cousin of Maryam. And Maryam alayhi salam, on the way back, she meets him. Or on the way to going to the stables, as the play says, that the 3 wise men see the star and they give glad tidings, and they go out looking for this child, this baby miracle child called Jesus Christ. This Yusuf al-Najjar, he is in the books. Some scholars debate it, but I think there's no problem with mentioning his name, because if you were to believe that he is the father, then your argument that he is the God is finished already before it even starts. So I don't see any sense why they bring this argument into it. Rather, they should say that he is free from a father and a mother. Then he will be the God. Yes? Is that the case? Like Adam alayhi salam was born without a mother and a father. That is a miracle. But just to have a mother and to be born without a father is not a great thing. It's not something that you can claim holiness or godness. Yeah, so I think this logic falls apart even before you start. So let's remember this character, Joseph. He is not the father of Isa alayhi salam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in the Quran that Malak Jibra'il, the angel Jibra'il, which they have a lot of enmity towards and their hatred towards him, because he was the one who brought down the Quran, the Torah, the Injil, and he was the one that also brought about the punishment upon them. That's why they really hate him, because of the punishment. And they love Mikael because he is the bringer of rain and glad tidings. He's a soft angel. So they said, if there's someone apart from Jibra'il, then we might have believed in this fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent the Malak, and the Malak, he blew the nafkha into Maryam alayhi salam, and this was a miracle in itself. So as Muslims, we believe without doubt that this was a great miracle. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show us one of the great prophets of Islam. Don't forget, he is dear to us. We love him. We love his mother. We love his family, the Ali Imran, who is mentioned in the Quran, as I mentioned last week. This is the summary of last week's reminder, by the way. This is not going into anything today. And Ali Imran is mentioned in the 3rd chapter of the Quran. Yeah. Very, very important. We remember this. The family is the family of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned in the Quran. His name is mentioned as a surah. Is his family mentioned? Yes, you are nodding. Which surah is it? You got? Yeah, it is mentioned. It is mentioned. It is a small surah. I'll give you a hint. It is a small surah. Quraysh. It was mentioned in a good and a bad way because it is a favor upon them. Allah allowed you to travel to Syria and to Yemen for business and trade. For this you should be thankful. So yes, without doubt, the name of the family is mentioned, but not as much detail as we have about Ali Imran. And Ali Imran is the family of Maryam alayhi salam and Isa ibn Maryam.
It starts from the Ali Imran family. I heard that it started from the Imran was the father of Musa, and that the family is all after that.
Yes,
is
it's the same progeny. Yes, because Ali Imran is from the children of Dawood alayhi salam and Sulaiman. So it is the progeny that carried on. So most of the Bani Israel family the prophets came from this family, and this is why it is blessed. This is why Allah put the name Ali Imran in the Quran. What else we mentioned last week? We finished off with a very important point that as Muslims, when we hear something that is mentioned in the Quran, especially a name, a family, a tribe, a woman, for instance, Maryam is mentioned in the Quran. For us, that has importance, and that we must have respect, and not just for the name, but also for the personality, and also more important, we should have respect for the teachings that she brought. What was the teaching she brought? What did she used to do? She used to prostrate, ruku and sujood in the Bayt al-Maqdis. This was what she used to do. She used to be a servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you compare the women of today with her, there's no match, there's no comparison. She was really a pious offspring of a prophet. And she was secluded, she was dedicated in worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When the angel came to her, it was a shock. She could not believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has chosen me. Not just that, also He has given me a glad tidings of what? Of a small boy, of a child, which his name was mentioned even before he was born. Now this is going to be a child called Al-Masih, Isa ibn Maryam, wajihan fi dunya. He's going to be somebody who will bring light and he will bring prosperity in the earth, on the earth. For instance, through his miracles, how much life and how much hidayah, how much new guidance did he bring just by those signs. And how many signs did he bring? We know the signs, bringing the dead back to alive, healing the ones who are ill, etc. All these are some things which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him in order that we realize that somebody has created him and somebody has to be worshipped, and that somebody is none but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He says in the Quran, Inna Allah Rabbi wa Rabbukum, which we will explain next week, that what were the main lessons that we get from the life of Al-Masih Isa ibn Maryam. So today inshallah we will cover the birth of Isa alayhi salam and how she took herself away from the people. This is also from Adab, because she was scared that I'm going to have this child and this is going to be a big shock for the people. So she decided to move away, and she took a path towards the Sharqiyya. And this is a part where we hear the plays you might hear, in the nativity play where she leaves her hometown in order to, with this character. Sometimes you mention his name, but otherwise it is mentioned in the Quran that she took a path away from the people. And this is when the Malak came to her and gave her comfort and said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it to be, and it will become that you will have a son called Al-Masih Isa ibn Maryam. For her it was a shock, as I mentioned, that I have no husband, I have no partner, and whatever they say against her, these are all fabricated lies. These are all buhtan al-azim, great lies. Not just against her, against Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, against Jibreel, against anyone who they bring into this and they try to make sense of it, they will fail. If you try to bring your own mind and you try to understand it, you're going to fail. Because this is not an ordinary event. This to bring a baby to this world without a father, it was something which misguided some of the Nasara, and verily is misguided most of the Al-Yahud, because they could not believe it. They were expecting a prophet, even though he was from amongst them, but the signs were not right. How could we accept a prophet who hasn't got a father? This is how when they started to use their logic. So I say to my brothers and sisters in Islam, sometimes the logic, it will not work in Islam. Yeah, you have to be careful. You have to say, Amanna, Sami'na wa ata'na. We've heard and we obey. Not like what the Bani Israel, they say, Sami'na wa asayna. We've heard but we disbelieve. So you've heard but you still disbelieve. So how could that be possible? So we have to be very, very careful when it comes to philosophical arguments or logic. Youngsters are still young to know what logic is, but the elders who will know what logic is. We move on to today's halaqah, inshallah, and I will read this very, very quickly. The next 10-15 minutes I would like to go through a few things. And we start off with the ayah in Surah Maryam. As I mentioned it earlier, وَذْكُرْ فِي الْكِتَابِ Maryam. And this is really, as I mentioned last week, if you want to give your friend a Quran for Christmas, please do give them a Quran for Christmas. But bookmark this page for them. Yeah, Surah Maryam, verse number 16. And ask them, oh my friend, read this ayah before you read any other ayah. Read the whole surah if you want. And it mentions the birth of Maryam alayhi salam, when she moved away. She took a barrier between her and the people, and we sent the ruh to her. And she says to the ruh, the Jibreel, I seek refuge in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from you. He says to her, don't worry, don't get afraid. I am a messenger from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the glad tidings. This is mentioned in their books, that she was given the glad tidings of a boy called Isa. So she became pregnant, and the scholars, they say the pregnancy lasted for 9 months. Some scholars say it was a shorter pregnancy, but there's no need to go into those debates and those arguments. There's no benefit from them. Whether she became pregnant and she had the child in 9 minutes or 9 months, doesn't make any difference. She became pregnant the normal way, the natural way, and she gave birth to who? To Isa ibn Maryam. When she gave birth, and before the birth, we know she had the pains of birth, the labor pain, and this is when she actually wishes for death. That, woe, I would not be alive. So much pain. She was also complaining not just of the pain, but also the how am I going to face my people when I give birth to this child. يَا لَيْتَنِي مِتُّ قَبْلَ هَذَا وَكُنْتُ نَسْيًا مَنْسِيًا. And if I would be something which was forgotten. So, the ulama, they say you are allowed to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for death in certain circumstances. When the trial and tribulations become so much, you cannot take it anymore, it is allowed, but you're never allowed to commit suicide. Yeah, this is a completely different question. We have brothers and sisters who suffer from mental health issues, and sometimes, they go through so much pain that they make dua for maut. The Prophet ﷺ has made it clear. Yeah, don't ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for trials and tribulations upon you, because you will not be able to succeed without the help of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when you have these trials, when you accept them and ask His help for them. يَا لَيْتَنِي مِتُّ قَبْلَ هَذَا وَكُنْتُ نَسْيًا مَنْسِيًّا. So who calls from underneath her? These scholars, they differ. Some say it was Isa, others say it was Jibreel. Yeah, he only spoke once in his when he was a boy. That was when he is faced with the honor of his mother and the people who are blaming her of all sorts. It will come later on. So the Jibreel Islam shouts from underneath, says that don't worry.
Allah tahzani, don't become grief. Allah subhanahu has created from underneath you a little river for your water. Yeah, so you can drink. Yes, you are tired, you have lost your energy so much so, you are on the final stages of pregnancy. Allah has provided you with a river underneath you which you can drink. Also, don't just rely on water. What else is good? The doctors will tell you. One of the best things to eat at that time is something sweet. So naturally, in the desert, what will you find? You're not going to find a Kit Kat bar in the desert, or a Mars bar. You're going to have to find some khajur. So Allah, He commands, وَهُزِّ إِلَيْكِ بِجِذْءِ النَّخْلَةِ. Now there is a difference of opinion regarding were the dates ripe or were they just still in the process of being ready. So there is an ikhtilaf on this. And this is the ayah sometimes we want to use to discredit that 25th of December is not the birth of Isa. Again,